Hi everyone. Before we get into this week's episode, a quick reminder that the series is going to be coming to an end in a couple of weeks' time. And as always, I love to hear from you guys for our conclusion episode. So in the final episode of this season that's going to come out in a couple of weeks, I would love to read some listener feedback, answer some listener questions, and I also want to collate the listeners' top 10 Nature Bites Back horror films. So I have linked in the show notes to this podcast a Google form, and I would love all of you guys to fill that in if possible. Basically, it will give you space to send me some feedback and comments on your thoughts on this season, and also to talk about your top 10 Nature Bites Back movies. If you fill that form in and submit it in the next week or two, then I'll be able to include it in the mix for our final episode. Okay, let's get into this week's Also Rans extravaganza. Welcome back to the evolution of horror. My name is Mike Muncer, and as ever, I am your host. In this podcast, we explore and dissect the history and the evolution of the horror genre, one subgenre at a time. We are currently in the middle of our 10th season, exploring the evolution of nature biting back in horror, and this is part 34. As we reach the end of this season, we're going to wrap things up by just discussing some additional recommendations. This week, it's going to be an Also Rans episode, where me and my guest are going to be listing a whole bunch of quick-fire recommendations, mainly animal attack movies from different sort of categories, different species, different eras. Nothing will be spoilerific this week, so it's just going to be a series of short, sharp recommendations. And we will, of course, link to a Letterboxd list as well, so you can check them out as a reminder. So, of course, joining me for this Also Rans special is our Also Rans guru, the man that has seen basically every film that's ever been made. No matter how bad, no matter how terrible, no matter how trashy, this guy has probably seen it. A big welcome back to Brad Hanson. Hello, Bradley.
Hello, been a while.
It's been a while, hasn't it, since you were here on the main podcast? What we just worked out before we started recording, it's been over a year?
Over a year, yeah. Not since, was it Mind and Body was the last season?
Or no, Home Invasion.
Home Invasion. Yeah.
Holy shit. Yeah, it's been a while. Obviously, people can hear us tune in every month on Fresh Bloods together, but
great plug.
Good plug, to get monthly Bradley content. But and you're always busy appearing on Brain Rot and various other podcasts, aren't you? You're out there.
I often say that I'll attend the opening of a fridge, really. I'll be anywhere. I'll be anywhere you need me, really.
Exactly. And you've got Gore Things, and that's probably launched since we last chatted on the main podcast, right? How's that going? Tell people about it in case there is anyone that doesn't know about it.
Yeah, so since I was last on the podcast, I've actually launched 2 podcasts. One's died.
Yeah.
Oopsie daisy. But the other one that's still very much alive and kicking came out beginning of sort of mid last year. Is called Gore Things, which is a weekly podcast that I do with Igraine Hackett Cantambrana, where we talk about all the most disgusting, fucked up shit you could ever possibly wish to hear about. We've just finished wrapping season 2 with Tumbling Dole of Flesh.
Fucking hell. How was that experience, Brad? How was that film?
It wasn't a fun revisit. Wasn't filled with fun memories of Tumbling Dole of Flesh, but that was an Igraine pick to close out the season, and we really ended on a downer.
Yeah.
Season 3 apology tour, I think. Just really nice, simple gore films in season 3. Evil Dead 2.
Yeah, exactly. Thing is, though, people love it, don't they? People would always choose listening to you guys talk about a film like that over watching it themselves. That's the thing. So
I would say it's about 50-50 listenership. 50% are brave souls that get onto effedupmovies.com and watch it, and the other half are just more than happy to just know what happens and never have to see it.
It's lovely. And people also get to hear a lot of, lovely personal sort of body horror from stories of just your life generally, Brad, as well, don't you? Get plenty of anecdotes in there,
I've been telling on myself quite a lot over the last 6 months in terms of the penile injuries I've incurred and everything else that's been going on in my wretched life. So if anyone is interested to know how many times I've damaged my penis, you can find out by listening to the Gore Things podcast.
There you go. If that isn't a great plug, I don't know what is, you know?
What can I do?
So we're here. Obviously, we've been talking for like a year now about kind of nature bites back movies, animal attack films, that kind of thing. What are your thoughts, Bradley? Are you a fan of these sorts of movies generally?
Now, normally I come on and go, no, I don't like anything.
Yeah, exactly.
But ironically, I actually fucking love a little creature feature, mate.
Yeah.
They're always a good time. They're just a general, you know, there's not a lot where you have to sit down with a notepad and try and take notes. You know, it's not, you're not deconstructing something that's like difficult to digest. It is evil bastard monster versus inept people, and it's that for 95% of the films, and they're just easy to engage with and just switch your brain off and have the best time with.
Yeah, you know what you're getting with movies like this, don't you? And like one of the reasons that I've been covering so many of them is that it is such a popular, it's so saturated, right? Especially over the last 20, 30 years. Why is it, do you think, that like these movies always seem to do well with a crowd? I
think because inherently we know that we're in the wrong. And a lot of the times these nature or these animals are fighting back against things that we as a society and as a species have done. So if anything, it's almost like us getting our just desserts. And a lot of people, especially in the last 20 or 30 years, recognize the damage that we've done to the ecosystem and to everything we've done in the world. And it's a nice way for us to be safely punished for our transgressions.
Exactly. I think there is a bit of that. We like seeing awful people get punished in these movies often, right? Like, we're very happy to watch the animals win or the monsters win, you know?
Definitely.
What about you in terms of your relationship with the natural world, Brad? Have you got any big phobias? Are you very much an animal person?
I mean, I love animals, but I fucking hate sharks.
Oh yeah, you do, don't you? Yeah, you're a bit of a wuss when it comes to shark movies, aren't you?
A wuss? I am fucking primordial. Like, I am so scared of sharks. And I've been on dates at shark movies and ended up looking like a complete and utter buffoon, like cowering and hiding. I refused to go on the Jaws ride when it existed. I'm annoyed it still exists in Japan. Get rid of that. Get rid of the one in Hollywood, the one in Universal Hollywood. Don't want to see it. It's all Jaws' fault. He did it to me. He ruined my life. Now, I'm still so scared of sharks.
I love it. I love that. So you're not one for swimming in the ocean, anything like that?
Well, ironically, I have swam on the Great Barrier Reef and there were sharks down there. So I have done it, but that was mainly because I wanted to prove to my girlfriend at the time that it was worth keeping me around.
Fair enough.
Transpired, it wasn't worth keeping me around. Should have let me drown.
Oh no, that's a sad end to that story. We've got so many movies to run through, haven't we? Again, it's one of those big lists. As ever, we'll always say this little caveat at the beginning. We're not going to cover absolutely everything. I'm sure people are still going to flag movies that we've missed, right? But we've done our best.
I tried so hard, and I always feel like whatever I do, it's never good enough. I will caveat to begin with to say that this is all creature features, and there's not a lot of natural disasters. There's not a lot of tornado movies or anything like that. So you're already going to be pissed off at that. But send all your annoyances to Mike.
Send them to me. I filter that for my guests so that they don't have to hear it. That's my plan most of the time. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. You've come up with an excellent list of kind of creature features, and we've separated them into. I say we. I keep saying the word we. Brad's done all of this himself, and you've separated it into sort of categories, right? Depending on the species, basically.
Yes, they're all sort of individually. Sort of laid out into different categories. So it's a subgenre of a subgenre.
Love it.
Which we love to do here at EOH. And then there'll be like one main film that we talk about, and then there'll be also rounds of also rants.
Yep.
We're really getting it down to like we're like splitting the atom here.
It's like Inception. It's like Inception, isn't it? It's all gone a bit Chris Nolan in this
I don't know what we were thinking, but never mind.
It's good. It's good. It's good. All right. Well, let's do it. So what is our first? And Brad, you've come up with some excellent category names as well. What's our first category?
The first category is called primate pricks.
Primate pricks. Okay. So big evil monkeys, basically, is what we're saying.
Yeah. And there's probably going to be some entomologists. It's like, that's the wrong. No, that doesn't belong there. That's a simian. I don't want to hear it. If it looks like a monkey, it is a monkey. As far as I'm concerned.
All right, well, there we go.
As far as I'm
so,
concerned.
where are we going to start? What's your main pick for the primates?
I've got to be honest, I kind of regret the one I chose, and there were probably better ones to talk about, but it's one that I know gets a lot of love online for the complete wrong reasons, but it's going to be Shakma from 1990.
It started as a study of human aggression. It led to experiments on primates. But something went wrong.
A lot of people have flagged this movie and wanted to hear it mentioned. So tell us about Shakma, Brad.
Well, the world's most aggressive primate just got mad. A murderous baboon escapes from a laboratory and roams around a research building and begins to kill some teenagers who are also in the building playing a Dungeons and Dragons style LARPing game.
All right. That sounds amazing to me. Is it any good, Brad?
It's not my cup of tea, but I know it has its fans. Yeah. For me, it's like what it is just scenes of actors cowering in fear while an obviously very distraught monkey actor beats his head against a series of poorly built doors.
Oh, God. So
it feels a bit almost like Crawl. Really.
Yeah.
And when you compare it to things that you have spoken about on the main pod, like Monkey Shines, for example, it is an inferior version of those films. But I mean, just by the synopsis itself, it certainly lends itself for a beer and pizza night, and let's all laugh at how mad and silly this like 90s creature feature is as well, because it feels distinctly very 80s, as it's on the cusp.
Right on the cusp, exactly. Yeah, so there you go. Shakma from 1990. That's a movie I know a lot of people wanted to hear mentioned. So there you go. And you can watch that on Prime Video. So, like Brad says, beer and a pizza, maybe. Don't take it too seriously. Yeah. All right. What other primate picks are you going to run through?
Well, I would be remiss, and this was a big one for me in the VHS, to mention Outbreak.
Oh, yeah.
Which I'm surprised somewhat, but just by very virtue of how big the cast is in terms, it's an absolutely stacked cast of characters: Dustin Hoffman, Rene Russo, and it's also obviously quite prescient because it very COVID-y.
Very COVID-y, exactly. Yeah, I sort of forgot when you put it in the primate thing, because I kind of just think of it as more of a virus film, basically.
But it's Ross's monkey going crazy and Wolfgang Peterson just letting it go mad. So there's that.
Lovely.
Obviously, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Night of the Bloody Apes, of course. Who could forget?
Who could forget? Night of the Bloody Apes from 1969. I was not aware of this movie, Brad.
Yeah, it's kind of a body, it could almost maybe go in Science Gone Mad your next season, because it's a surgeon transports the heart of an ape into his son, and then his son becomes an ape monster killing thing. So it's actually, to be fair, although it's monkey based, probably more suited for next podcast. Just cut this one out and put it in the next one.
I'll cut it out.
I'll pop it in 14 months' time. It's fine.
Excellent. I'll drop that in. But anyway, that's Night of the Bloody Apes. What else have you got?
Well, this one straddles two creature feature genres, because it's, of course, Dario Argento's Phenomena.
Oh, yeah. I kind of thought this was going to be your main pick. Yeah.
I kind of was looking at the list today and I was like, what the fuck didn't I pick that? But obviously, this is Dario Argento. This is Jennifer Connelly. She has telekinetic ability to sort of conjure insects and can kind of communicate with them. But also, at the same time, there's also a monkey butler that kills people.
Yep. There you go. There's a lot going on.
It's the perfect intersection of all my interests.
Yeah. Ticks all the Bradley boxes, that one. Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And finally, in the primate section, of course, Primal Rage from 1988.
Oh, lovely.
Which had got a really good release from Vinegar Syndrome. They've done a 4K release, because if you're going to see the Monkey Killer film, you need to see it in 4K, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But this is set around a Florida university. It's very 28 days later. It gets injected by a rage virus.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And then goes obviously crazy. So very prescient to like 28 days later. It was like miles ahead of the game, nearly 20 years ahead of the game.
Even the word rage, right? Yeah, very 28 days later. Love that. Did you mention Congo, Brad, as well? We've got Congo on our list.
Oh, shit. Yeah. Amy, good. This film made me feel like a badass when I saw it. It came out and I was 10 years old, and I got into the cinema even though it was a 12, and I felt like the biggest badass going.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised once again, this one is not particularly horror, although I would argue that the kind of hidden apes, the secret apes that they find later, quite horrific, quite scary.
Yeah. I remember seeing this too as a kid, and it sort of came out in the wake of that wave of like Jurassic Park and all those kind of other movies, right? And it got a lot of big marketing. I remember it when it came out. Yeah. So there you go. Some bangers there. So we've got from our primate pricks, we've got Shakma from 1990. That's on Prime Video. Night of the Bloody Apes, which is on VOD. Phenomena, Dario Argento from 1985. That's on Shudder. Congo from 1995. That's on VOD. Outbreak from the same year, VOD. And Primal Rage from 1988, which you can watch on Prime Video. What a selection. And that's just category 1.
Sit back. We've got 11 more categories.
We've got plenty more to go. All right. What's your next category, Brad?
The next category is crocodiles.
Crocodiles. Oh, it's just prepare yourselves for a lot of Bradley puns throughout all of this.
I've worked so hard.
You've worked so hard for this. Crocodiles, so killer croc movies, right? I'm guessing.
Yeah, and once again, alligators as well.
Yeah.
If it looks like it is. So the leading candidate, I've got to say, of what was left of the crocodile movies that you gave me the option to talk about, because you'd obviously picked Lake Placid and you've done some of the bigger stuff there, and Alligator, obviously.
Yeah.
You didn't give me a lot to work with. Mm-hmm. So the film I chose to talk about was a film called Killer Crocodile.
You're going to hunt it down and kill it, aren't you?
Sure, we're going to kill it, aren't we, Joe?
You bet, Judge. Consider it already dead.
No.
No what?
We're against killing of any kind. Our work here is important. Someone's polluting these swamps, and it's our job to find out who.
I'm not surprised. Take a look at this. The dyes reveal high acid levels caused by industrial waste.
It's very much a Ron Seal film. You are invited to dinner in the tropics, but you're the dinner.
Lovely.
A troop of environmentalists arrive at a faraway tropical delta where toxic waste is being dumped. However, the water also hides a giant crocodile. The corrupt local officials don't offer much help either.
Oh, it sounds good. Sounds good. Is it good?
It's pretty fucking stupid. This is another one of those classic Italian... It's directed by Fabrizio De Angelis. Silly, stupid Italian gut-munching monster movies.
Lovely.
Now, it does need a bit more croc-munching than you get given, and that does get rectified in Killer Crocodile 2, which came out the subsequent year. But it's a pretty wacky, gonzo, fun time to be had with a chompy croc.
I love that. So you got Killer Crocodile from 1989 and Killer Crocodile 2. Both of them you can watch on Shudder. So there you go. What other? You have got a couple of other biggies in terms of crocodile films. What else have you got?
We have Rogue.
Yeah.
Which I believe was Greg McLean, isn't it? Off the back of Wolf Creek.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, a bit of Rada Mitchell, a bit of Sam Worthington. Like, I would say that one's, very solidly produced. It's certainly riding in the wave of sort of off the back of the new millennial nasty era. But yeah, quite a fun one nevertheless. And there was also, from a similar sort of time, Primeval.
Yeah.
By Michael Cattleman, where they go to Burundi and find a big 25-inch croc bone. There's also like some other shit going on with warlords. Because of course, if you're dealing with a killer croc, you've also got to deal with warlords.
Of course. Of course. Yep. 2007, quite the year, right, for crocodile films, because there's also Blackwater from that
There is
year, right?
also Blackwater, which is the town next to where I grew up. But there wasn't a killer crocodile there that I was aware of. Directed by Andrew Trauke, who also did The Reef, which you spoke about recently.
Indeed, which we talked about. Scary movie. And this I have not seen, but a lot of people wrote in to say it's just as good, if not better, than The Reef as well. He's a good filmmaker, that guy. Yeah,
he's a good scary water guy. Mm-hmm. He's pretty good at scary water. Yeah. But of course, the big one, the one you should never forget, is, of course, Blood Surf, a.k.a. Crocodilus.
Crocodilus, yes. Tell us about this one.
So this is from the year 2000, right on the directed by James Hitchcock, starring absolutely no one. And this is the classic confirmation of surfers versus killer crocodile. I mean, what more could you want?
Incredible. I just like the title, Crocodilus. It's a good title, you know?
Crocodilus.
So there you go. That's our crocodiles category. We've got Killer Crocodile 1 from 1989. That's on Shudder. Killer Crocodile 2, also on Shudder. Blood Surf, a.k.a. Crocodilus, from 2000. That's on VOD. And then you've got all your 2007 movies. Rogue, which is on VOD. Blackwater, which is on Plex. And Primeval, which is on Disney+. There we go. Lots of good croc movies to check out. Where are we going next? Where in nature are we going next, Bradley?
We're going to visit quite a few deep-sea douchebags.
Deep-sea douchebags. These are the ones that scare you, right? This is the shark stuff coming up.
This is predominantly the shark stuff, although there is some things that are not sharks, but mostly...
Some other douchebags are available.
Check your local stockers for your douchebags. Obviously, yeah. So this is all underwater creature features, but predominantly because even... We could do an Also Rans episode on just shark movies.
Absolutely, we could. Yeah.
You know, they release fucking 3 or 4 of the cinema every year, it turns out. And they're all great manifestations of just like a woman's grief. Yeah. And occasionally there's a shark after 5 minutes from the end.
There's usually like a marriage problem, there's some grief, you know, and then a shark turns up to fuck everybody up. Yeah.
For the last 5 minutes, though. For the other 90, you don't see anything. Fantastic stuff. Wonderful stuff. Like, was it Something in the Water?
Something in the Water. We had Under Paris this year, or last year, didn't we, as well?
Hasn't made the list, because it was in the Seine. Wasn't deep enough.
It wasn't deep enough, exactly. There you go. Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. We're only scratching the surface with this, right? But what's your main pick for this category?
I mean, there was only ever going to be one pick for this, and that is, of course, Cruel Jaws from 1995, directed by Italian gore meister Bruno Mattei.
Talk rubbish, boy. This is not the place nor the time.
This is like the sort of unofficial Jaws sequel, right? The unofficial 5th Jaws movie.
Correct. The bloody Italians are back at it again.
They don't care for copyright.
Fuck IP. We're not interested.
Yeah.
Tagline, this time it's even more personal than last time.
That is amazing.
A tiger shark, which surprisingly looks a lot like a great white shark, bred by the Navy, is a killing machine wreaking havoc on the sleepy tourist town of Hampton Bay.
Lovely. Yeah, I need to check this out, actually, because I've heard great things. How is it, Brad? Are you a fan?
Absolutely remarkable movie. Brilliant. 5 stars, no nose. I first saw this at Crap Film Club.
Lovely.
In Shoreditch. And the issue with this film so much is that it literally steals scenes from Jaws 3 and 4 and then just cuts them into their own movie. So there's just scenes where the gradient is completely different. The watercolor is completely different.
Oh my God.
But it has its own set pieces as well, where one's like to do with a flare gun, which is remarkable. There's one with a big pontoon, that like sort of the denouement of the film. Unbelievable stuff. Like utter shit, but so good.
What are your thoughts on the kind of like, me and Matt Draper last week talked a lot about the kind of quote unquote so bad they're good movies from like The Asylum, and you know, we talked about the Sharknado movies and all that kind of thing. What do you think of them? Are they sort of so bad they're good, Brad, or are they just bad?
I think you get a varying degree in quality, and the problem is, much like panning for gold, you have to sit through a lot of fucking shit and silt to get to the good stuff. Like when Sharknado came out, that was fun, right? That was like just merely because, but now there's like Catnado.
Yeah.
And Clownnado. And I've had enough.
Had enough of it.
I've had enough.
Had enough of it, exactly. But Cruel Jaws sounds like one of those genuinely fun movies to check out.
Genuinely good stuff.
Love that. Okay, what other deep-sea douchebags have we got?
Oh, we got plenty. We have a dearth. I would be remiss if we didn't mention the Shark Attack series. The first one starring, I believe, Casper Van Dien. And the third one, Megalodon, starring John Barrowman.
Oh, yeah.
Which he had that really infamous line at the end of the film where he saves the day and he says, how about I take you home and eat your pussy?
Incredible. That's something everyone wants to hear John Barrowman say, right? You know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And there's that, like, there's a really famous, like, sort of like viral clip of a bloke sort of jet skiing into a shark's mouth and it just being a composite of two images melding in the middle.
Incredible.
So yeah, you've got to keep the Shark Attack movies in there. They were sublime stuff. On a more sort of serious note, and like a genuinely good film, Orca from 1977.
Yeah. Another one that I probably should have tried to squeeze in. But again, there were, especially in the 70s, there were so many movies.
Well, that's the thing, you and Ponder only had a certain amount of time as well, and you couldn't get through them all then either. So
Exactly.
Bring it up here. You know, Revenge is a Fish, best served cold. And this Orca, get out of the poster.
Oh, God.
And Orca genuinely is like a fucking great creature feature. Richard Harris being an absolute boy in it, like Charlotte Rampling's in it, like it's good, like it's got the chops.
Yeah, it's like a proper film, isn't it?
It's like a grown-up film. It's like it's unlike anything else we're talking about here, so that's good.
Yep. Okay, so that's a good one.
Of course, Devilfish from 1984.
Of course.
Why wouldn't we talk about that? Also known as Shark Rossa, like Red Water or Red Ocean. Directed by Lamberto Bava.
Another Italian gem. Excellent.
Well, this is a shark-octopus hybrid, you see, so...
Oh my God, amazing.
So you need to make sure you get the clear distinction there. Mm-hmm. Similarly, with other things going on under the water, Deep Star 6 from 1989, they go down there and they're doing like an underwater nuclear base, and guess what? There's stuff down there that don't want them down there. So that's a good one. That's a fun one. You've got Beneath, which is directed by Larry Fessenden. It's less deep water now. We're in a lake rather than the deep sea, so I don't know why this one's really in here, but it couldn't go anywhere else. And
it's underwater. It'll do.
Close enough. Man-eating fish movie. Good time. And then more contemporarily, of course, you've got Shark Night, which was riding that crest of 3D movies.
Yeah, Shark Night 3D. I remember this. Yeah, 2011.
Exactly. And then the following year, we had Bait, which was Shark in the Supermarket.
Yep. Classic. You've always got to find something. There's in every subgenre. There's let's put it in a supermarket, right? That always has to happen.
Yeah, you've got to get that one in there. And more recently, obviously, Blake Lively. Say what you will about It Ends With Us and the drama surrounding that. She did a bloody good job with her and Steven Seagal against a shark in The Shallows, which is a film I saw on a date and ended up looking like an absolute dickhead.
Yeah, that one is more genuinely scary, right? And again, I had the choice as to whether or not to cover The Shallows or 47 Meters Down as like a bit more of a modern shark suspense picture, and I think just listeners went do 47 Meters Down essentially, but The Shallows also very good, right?
Yeah, a different beast though, right? Because 47 Meters Down, you've got a second issue, right? Because she's stuck on a rock and she needs to swim out, but you're also running out of air in 47 Meters Down. Like it's more pressing.
It's more pressing. You've also got the bends. You can't just swim back up. You know, it's a nightmare.
Can you imagine getting the bends?
No, it's one of those things that scares me more than the idea of sharks. Actually, is the bends. Yeah. Terrible.
Well, ironically, if I did ever encounter a shark, I would simply just have a heart attack and die. So
yeah, there you go.
But like
you'll be gone before it gets you.
I know that is what will happen as well. I have every faith in myself that I will just, like, my body will just go factory reset. See you later.
Yeah, forget it. Yeah, your heart will just nope out.
Yeah, not interested. So yeah, genuinely, it's often talked about, especially on Fresh Blood, plug, that, nothing really bothers me, nothing really phases me, unless it's fucking sharks, and then they scare the shit out of me. So this is anything underwater and being a dickhead for me, not for me.
Yeah, it's such like you said, we could have done a whole episode. I could have done a whole series on just shark movies. There are so many out there. And I think that's why, because like you're not alone in that, Brad. People like it's one of the most common fears in the world, right? People are absolutely terrified of sharks. So there you go. We've only scratched the surface there when it comes to the deep sea creatures, deep sea douchebags coming for us, right? But there are a few to recommend. So we've got Cruel Jaws from 1995. That's on Prime. We've got Orca, which is on VOD. We've got Bait on Studio Canal. You can stream that on the Studio Canal channel. The Shallows is on Netflix. And then a few others that are a little bit harder to find. You can seek them out. Devilfish from 1984. Deep Star 6. The Shark Attack series of films, and Beneath from 2013. There you go. Some bangers there. All right, let's move on from deep sea douchebags. What's our next category, Bradley?
I made a rod from my own back a little bit here because this one's quite hard to say.
It is.
It doesn't roll off the tongue very well. Arachnidiots. Arachnidiots?
Arachnidiots. Yeah.
Arachnidiots.
I mean, I like what you've done. I like what you've tried to do with it there. But like you say, it's better on the page almost.
It's
than
better
it is
on
to say
paper,
it
yeah.
out loud. Yeah. So cunty spiders is what we're saying.
Horrible spiders. I would say probably everyone's like worst thing, right? I would say of all the fears, people hate spiders the most.
They do.
More so than sharks.
And isn't it weird? And I think we've spoken about this before, maybe on Fresh Blood, that considering it is one of the most common phobias in the world, there actually aren't that many good spider films out there, right?
This is, I mean, obviously I've picked one, and this is one I stand behind 100%. This is a banger. I'm surprised you never gave it a full episode.
I know.
So, you know, often when I look through, and we talk about this quite a lot, but when we look through what you've picked for your episodes and stuff, and the people that you've picked to do them with, I'm obviously a mixture between jealous and anger, because I'm like, they fucking stealing all the shit I want to talk about.
Yeah.
And then every now and then you just miss one, and I'm like, well, that is a little gift from God just
There
for
you
me.
go. It's a big glare. We've got to include those big glaring omissions as well for these episodes, you know? So exactly. So on that note, Brad, what are we going to start with?
It's fucking eight-legged freaks.
Yeah.
What exactly is that? Spider, man.
Our town is being attacked by giant spiders.
And this is a really fun film, to be fair.
Unbelievable stuff. The residents of a rural mining town discover that an unfortunate chemical spill has caused hundreds of little spiders to mutate overnight to the size of SUVs. It's set up to mining engineer Chris McCormack and Sheriff Sam Parker to mobilise an eccentric group of townspeople, including the sheriff's young son Mike, to battle the bloodthirsty eight-legged beasts. What a fucking picture this was.
It's great fun, isn't it? Great fun. It came out around the same time as... well, I guess we got a few of them around this time, movies that we haven't mentioned yet, but things like Snakes on a Plane and those sorts of movies. We got a good little fun wave of them through the 2000s, didn't we? Eight-Legged Freaks is great fun.
Yeah, I remember one of my first trips up to Camden as a big boy on my own. I went up to Odeon and watched Eight-Legged Freaks in London when I was like 18 years old, and I thought, oh, I'm so grown up, look at me in London on my own watching movies. So I've got this weird like affinity for this movie where I feel like a grown up when I watch this film. Love it
Yeah, it's
absolutely
great. David Arquette, right? Is it David Arquette that stars in this one?
David Arquette, Scarlett Johansson.
Oh my god! Wow,
Baby ScarJo.
I haven't seen this probably since back in the day when it first came out, so I wouldn't have been aware of ScarJo back then. I guess, yeah.
Well, you probably would have seen her and been like, "She's very pretty."
Yes, I'm sure, exactly. But I probably would have only known of David Arquette because I'd have been like, "Oh, he's in the Scream movies." Yeah,
it's the Scream boy. But obviously, this was directed by Laurie LKM, who's done next to fuck all since. Very odd. And you know, because this felt like a big movie, right? Like it felt like it had budget, and you look at the rest of his filmography, it's nothing really. Like there's like a fucking Return of the Living Dead sequel, but the crap ones.
That is interesting, yeah, because the movie did all right. I mean, not massive buck. It was a $30 million budget movie, which, by the way, you wouldn't get that anymore, would you? A $30 million budget Killer Spider movie. I feel like that wouldn't exist anymore. But it made about $50 million. So it's sort of just about made its money back, essentially.
It did all right.
It did all right, didn't it? It did all right. But yeah, I am surprised that we never heard from that guy again.
Well, I mean, he did do stuff. It just wasn't stuff that anyone... It never did anything like that. I guess maybe it was like a sort of lightning in a bottle sort of thing. Like it came along at the right time. because I just remember everyone going crazy over this film when it first came out.
It's fun. It's not as scary as something like Arachnophobia because the spiders are big. That actually makes it, I think, less scary than the horrible little creepy ones that, you know, that hide in your shoe and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I definitely agree, because when you can see them coming, and it was an issue with one of the films we're going to be talking about in a minute.
Yeah.
Is when they're big, like when they're little, they can get anywhere. Like vermins, which we're not talking about. Are you doing that on the main? Or
I'm doing that next week.
Yeah.
Infested.
Yeah, infested vermins. Lots of little spiders that get big at the end, and then we're like, go away. But when they're little, when they can get through any crack, that's when I think that's what's scary about spiders. Not them being 50 foot tall, because it might as well not be a spider. Then it could just be anything.
Yes.
The whole point is that they can get into little areas and get you.
Oh, it's grim. Absolutely grim. But yeah, like you say, you don't really get that with eight-legged freaks. It's much more like a big, giant creature feature monster movie. But it's great fun. That's on VOD if people want to check that out. What other arachnidiots have you got?
It's hard, isn't it? See, it's harder than you. It's a fucking pain in the ass. Well, speaking of what we were just talking about, of course, I'd be remiss if we didn't mention Big Ass Spider.
Big Ass Spider.
In 2013.
I feel like you mentioned this recently on Fresh Blood as well. That name rings a bell. Yeah.
It might have done, or it might have been one of my Brad's deep cuts.
Exactly. I think that's what it was. It was in relation to Sting and Infested,
that makes sense.
Probably. Yeah.
So this guy, Mike Mendez, did a crazy creature feature from 2013 and then followed it up with another one that we're about to talk about as well, which is, of course, who could forget Larvantula?
Larvantula. I mean, it's a great title, isn't it? It is good.
This one stars Steve Guttenberg.
Oh, whatever happened to Steve Guttenberg?
Whatever happened. So, Larvantula.
God.
It's a spider that also secretes lava. That you talk about what you and Matt Draper were talking about, the sort of asylums.
Yeah.
These two are like peak asylum shit.
Absolutely. God, look at it. It looks like I'm just Google imaged it, and the effects, it looks like you're looking at a sort of PS1 game, doesn't it? It's really bad.
Like a bad cutscene.
Really bad.
Yeah.
Really bad. But, you know, Big Ass Spider's got, you know, a few fun people in it. It's got Lynn Shay. It's got Ray Wise, Leland Palmer from Twin Peaks, right? It's got a few fun character actors in it. Fun time to be had. And again, you know, if people are into these sorts of movies, probably have some fun with it.
Yeah, definitely. Moving on from that one, though, and from those big, stupid creature features, in more recent times, we've seen the film Itsy Bitsy from 2019, directed by Micah Gallo. It tries to do something different because it adds this like weird, like potential like psychological haunting link between the kid and the spider.
Yes.
So it's sort of like Babadook by way of arachnophobia.
Very 2010s kind of version of a spider attack movie. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that is a bit shitsy bitsy. So
it does have Denise Crosby in it, though. I mean, come on.
I don't know who Denise Crosby is, mate.
She is the mum from Pet Sematary in the late 80s. That's all I know her from, but there you go.
Lovely.
All right, well, there you go. That's Itsy Bitsy. What else we got?
Finally, we have, of course, Sting from last year. Directed by Kyle Rich Turner.
And again, you know, that one was a popular one, wasn't it? We got, like you said, we got two big spider films last year. We had Infested, Vermines, which I'm going to be talking about in more depth next week. But yeah, Sting was another good one.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I had a good time with it. I know it's been a bit divisive, and you were very similar to a lot of there was a lot of cinematic parallels last year. You were either team Immaculate or you were team The First Omen. You were either team Vermins or you were team Sting, depending on which way you looked at it.
Yeah.
But I had a good time with Sting. I thought it was a solid sort of, I like apartment block horror.
Yeah.
Like Evil Dead Rise and stuff like that. So for me, it kind of scratched that cool itch of, you know, I've been living in apartment blocks for over a decade. Yeah. And the concept of like, I was on the top floor being like, if something like that happened to me, I'm fucked. What am I going to do?
You're done. Again, that's another moment where Brad's body's just going to shut down and go, no, forget it.
No, that's the end of that. Sorry, mate.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, well, there you go. So that's our creepy spider category. So we've got Eight-Legged Freaks there on VOD. Itsy Bitsy is also on VOD. You can rent that. Big Ass Spider is VOD. Sting you can watch on Netflix, and Larvantula from 2015, which you might have to seek harder to find. There you go. All right, moving on from spiders. What's next?
We have Reptilian Reprobates.
Lovely. Good R rolling as well with that one. Yeah.
I love an alliteration.
Yeah.
So this is snakes and ancillary other reptiles, because once again, you could do loads of snake movies. There's tons.
Absolutely tons.
But not many good ones.
Not many good ones. I did that really weird one this series with Stevie, the one where Oliver Reed and Klaus Kinski are in a house. Yeah, Venom. That was a bonkers film. Again, only about 3 scenes involving the snake. The rest of it is just watching those 2 actors go at it, basically. But, fun time.
Who could chew the scenery the most?
Yeah, basically. Exactly. Yeah, you're right. Considering, again, how scary snakes are in the real world, I feel like we haven't quite had the great snake movie still, but I don't know.
Well, maybe it'll be Anaconda this year.
Maybe it will be. Exactly. Yeah, we're getting a new one, aren't we? With like a really stacked cast. So who knows?
It looks like it's probably going to be funny, though, rather than...
Yeah.
It's Paul Rudd and Jack Black, and it's coming out Christmas.
It's going to be a fun one. Yeah, there you go.
Sure.
All right, so what's your main pick from this category?
Another one where I'm like, what the fuck are you doing, mate? Is, of course, Snakes on a Plane from 2006, directed by David R. Ellis.
Enough is enough! I have had it with these motherfucking snakes on this motherfucking plane! Everybody strap in! I'm about to open some fucking windows.
Snakes on a Plane. Again, this was one of those movies, wasn't it, where like the marketing was just everywhere. I remember 2006, just like, what was I about? I was 19, and I just remember like just marketing for that movie just being all over the place. Yeah,
it was like a cultural event, and I mean, it was during the advent of when people would check sort of like Ain't It Cool News, which is obviously a bit cancelled. It's a bit cancelled now, but back then it was fine. But there would be all these news stories right about Kevin Smith's going to direct a Superman movie, and it was all this sort of stuff. And I remember the news breaking that Samuel L. Jackson was going to be in a film called Snakes on a Plane, and the general sort of hilarity. So obviously the story is that they pitched him the film. Snakes on a Plane was a working title, and they wanted to call it like Passenger 16 or Flight 783 or whatever they wanted to call it.
That's it.
And Samuel L. Jackson dug his heels and said, I'm not doing the film unless it's called Snakes on a Plane.
Yeah. I mean, this is the thing. It's all about that title, really, isn't it?
That's the big hook. So FBI agent Neville Flynn, great name, boards a flight from Honolulu, Hawaii to Los Angeles, escorting a key witness to testify against a mob boss on an upcoming trial. But on board, they release dozens of deadly venomous snakes that attempt to kill the witness and obviously every single passenger that's involved. Quite similar to a more recent film called Flight Risk.
There you go.
Except Mark Wahlberg's the snake in that film. But other than that, fine. So so this once again has Lin Shaye in it. It's got Kenan Thompson from Kenan and Kel and Saturday Night Live, and a whole host of the most broadly drawn characters you've ever seen in your life.
Oh yeah. Oh, very much so. But again, like this movie, very much having fun. It's very much a comedy horror, isn't it? That's the thing, and it does have some great little set pieces.
Yeah, the sex scene in the Mile High Club.
Yep.
People getting bit on the dick.
Yep.
I mean, that's always intensely be funny. I also love that. Obviously, the classic line is, "I've had it with these motherfucking snakes on this motherfucking plane."
Incredible.
That's like the line that sort of almost typified. You know, like they have like a quote that typifies a decade.
Yeah.
You know, like Rosebud.
Yeah.
This might be the 2000s to 2010 like quote.
This is the Rosebud of the 2000s, basically. Is what you're saying.
This is it. This is I think the line of dialogue that speaks for that decade might be. It could be, I drink your milkshake, but it's not.
No.
It's motherfucking snakes on a motherfucking plane. Have you ever heard the airplane edit of this film?
I haven't.
So much like when Hot Fuzz did it, they had to re-record all the swearing because you can't have loads of swearing on planes, and a lot of planes get you to do that. So what Samuel L. Jackson says in the edited version of Snakes on a Plane is, I've had it with these monkey fighting snakes on this Monday to Friday plane.
Monkey fighting snakes. It doesn't even make sense.
It doesn't make any sense at all. But
that's amazing.
Come on.
I love that. Well, I'm sure everyone out there has probably seen it, but if you haven't, get on it. Snakes on a Plane, right? You can rent that on VOD. It's a good one. All right, what else have we got in our reptilian reprobates category?
I mean, this title might be the stupidest title I've ever heard in my life.
Agreed.
This film is called...
Yeah, that's literally, 5 or 6 S's in a row.
7 S's, I counted.
7 S's. Okay, there you go. 7 S's if you need to Google it.
Directed by Bernard L. Kowalski. Basically, I watched this actually this week. I've done over the last week. I've been doing my due diligence, making sure, and I'd never seen. So I did actually watch this one for the pod, and it's basically once again a bit science gone wrong because there's a bloke and his daughter, and they work with snakes and they love snakes, and then she meets a boy and he starts like injecting the boy with snake venom to make him into a snake.
Amazing.
So you've got real life snakes attacking and stuff, sure, and there's all of that stuff going on, but also there's like a big reptilian snake man at the end. So
sounds great.
It sounds superb.
So there you go. From 1973. Lovely. People love hearing that in their earpods right now, I'm sure. So
yeah, I'm sure they're really appreciative of that.
All right, what else we got?
Who could forget the Boogans?
Who could forget them, you know?
From 1981, they're otherworldly small creatures that look a lot like frogs, and they inhabit bootleg tunnels underneath a small mining community. They get involved with the mines. Guess what happens? Frog killers. Fantastic stuff.
Good. What else?
You've got Spasms with one S, and one in the middle and one on the end, actually, which is about a gigantic serpent on a remote island. It's shipped to an American college. You'll never guess what happens there. Bloody gets loose and kills people.
Excellent.
That's also got Oliver Reed in it.
Oh my God, what was he up to in the early 80s? Mental.
I have no idea. It's also got Peter Fonda. Very, very odd casting in that film, but yes, Spasms. More contemporarily in 98, Gargantua.
Good title.
Which, once again, got good title, more than a whiff of the Asylum's about it, though. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
But this wouldn't have been Asylum because it's a bit ahead of the time. But what it would have been one of those, those DVDs that had 4 films on them.
Oh, lovely. Yeah. I've still got some of them on the shelf. Yeah. It's great.
And like every now and then you'd have like Howling 2 or something in it.
Yeah.
But everything else would just be a load of shit.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Gargantua would be one of the loads of shit. And more recently, came out only last year or the year before, Frogman by Anthony Cousins, which is a sort of found footage movie about a frog-like creature that inhabits Ohio, and these people are going to they're like cryptid hunters, and they're going almost Blair Witchian in its construct, but it's actually surprisingly quite fun. Really enjoyed it. Nice. And it's a sort of more recent reptilian situation. So I recommend it. It's a good one.
Excellent. That's a weird category of movies, isn't it? So we've got Snakes on a Plane from 2006. That's VOD. You've got... That's the last time I'm going to say it, I promised. From 1973, which is harder to find. You can seek that out somehow. The Boogans from 1981, which you can rent VOD. Spasms from 1983 and Gargantua from 1998. And then Frogman from 2024, which you can rent on VOD. It's a weird category of movies. Love it.
That is me, Remy. I'm a filmmaker, and I'm making a film about Ben, a man of many talents. Ben was a killer, an extremely clever and creative killer. Almost to the point of genius. He could hit a moving target, sight unseen, and strike at a moment's notice. So when he asked us to join in the fun, we felt honored. I mean, he was the star of our movie, and who were we to say no? Afterwards, we all celebrated into the night, and what a party it was. For a short while, at least. Until things got way out of hand.
That was a little clip you heard just there from the trailer for Man Bites Dog, a deeply disturbing sort of mock documentary made in the early 90s, and it's often considered one of the sort of quintessential proto-found footage movies, something that kind of almost established the format before Blair Witch did, and that is what we're going to be discussing over on Patreon next week, because we have kicked off our found footage mini-season. So in each episode of the mini-season, I'm going to be joined by a different guest, and we're going to be talking about a different found footage movie. It's going to be really, really fun. We've already dropped the intro episode a few weeks ago with Graham Paul Donovan, and next week it's the first deep dive discussion, Man Bites Dog, with the brilliant Tim Coleman. Then we're going to be discussing all kinds of great and creepy movies over the next few episodes. We're going to be discussing Hell House LLC, Noroi the Curse, Grave Encounters, and a whole bunch of other scary, horrible found footage stuff. So it's going to be really fun. I cannot wait to dive into all of these films. If you want to listen to that mini season, you need to sign up at the $10 level. Patreon.com/evolution of horror. $10 per month will get you access to a brand new episode every single week. Not just our found footage mini season, but there'll be loads of other stuff to listen to as well, week by week, particularly as this main series of the podcast is going to end soon and we're going to go on a hiatus. The main feed is going to go into hibernation for a few months. So if you want to keep on listening to regular EOH content, sign up to our Patreon, patreon.com/evolution of horror. Everybody who signs up, no matter what tier, will also get a special shout out on the main podcast as a thank you. Speaking of, I'm going to give everybody who signed up in the month of January a big thank you. There were a lot of you that signed up to our Patreon in January. So a big thank you to Andy Martin, Claire Hazeltine, Emily Rubin, Duck H, Lee Skutsky, Damon Lavrink, Olivia Pepe, Tabby, Gabrielle Robinson, Taylor, Lee, Ben Bartosik, Sarah Buck, Joseph Steinhauer, Alex Katharina, Christy Brinkman, Kieran Mantle, Elle Beckford, Farhad Ebrahimi, Linda, Josh Lake, Charlene Bougeot, Emil Magnuson, Edin Demisic, Nathan Brown, Jenny, Jessica Benevente, Michelle Chavez, Paul Blake, Wright Thomas, Chris Lewis, Nova Cascade, Sandy Davis, Renee Melendez, Ian Patterson, Adam Neal, Nicole, Kyle Jones, Daniel Davidson, Joe Bird, Tom Lafferty, Katie Smith, Nicole Morin, Kate Harbour, Russell Merton Cole, Jackety Jacks, Susie, Jack Skellington, Huge T Driz, Jade Podgefite, Plastorm, Tom Jenkins, Nick Morfitt, Carl Olsen, Carmen, Becky Hollis Designs, Dave Thomas Verft, Magali Pancho Boulet, Lisa Marwood, Chris, Brittany Mazza, Pip, Brandon VR, Alicia Judkins, David Ivert, Olivia Dibben, Jimmy Levens, Nick Delaney, Eden, Daniel Schlant, Nathaniel Esau, Jonathan, Alex Cole, Evangelina Cantu, Stephen Holder, Graham Lusby, Max Myers, Chuck Bernice, and Kayla. A huge thank you to all of those people. Wow, a big list of you there who signed up in the month of January. And one more time, if you want to sign up and get treated to regular bonus content and more, then sign up now. Patreon.com/evolution of horror. That's patreon.com/evolution of horror. Okay, let's return to the second half of this week's Also Rans with Brad Hanson. All right, let's move on. What is our next category?
It's not getting any better, mate.
It's not.
It's flying fuckers.
Yeah, flying fuckers. I mean, fair enough. Okay, so these are evil birds and the like, I'm guessing.
Winged bastards. Yes.
Excellent.
Now, I was once again torn, and I made a choice. And do I love the choice I made in retrospect? No, but I picked it, and we're going to do it. So, the title film of this section is, of course, Birdemic: Shock and Terror by James Nguyen.
I think they're eagles. What's going on?
This is Birdemic.
Yeah, I've never seen this movie. I've heard a lot about it. How is it?
Movies, there's three of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. They are potentially one of the worst films I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, wow. And you've seen some bad stuff.
I've seen some bad stuff. This is room level. This is, but for because it's literally, it has the sort of dialogue and pacing and sort of understanding of what human emotion is of a film like by Tommy Wiseau, in so much that it's almost like an alien has made a film about what he thinks would happen if people had to deal with birds attacking. But you're then compositing that against the worst special effects you have ever seen in your life.
Amazing.
And there's been a 10-year span between, 10-year span between the first one and the last one, and the effects have not improved.
Wow.
It's literally, it almost feels like clip art of birds and people sort of swatting at something that is clearly not there. But yeah, a platoon of eagles and vultures attack the residents of a small town. It's down to 2 people to try and fight back and how to survive the bird-demic.
Wow.
The first film features Whitney Moore, who's actually gone on to do quite a lot of stuff and been in quite a lot of films. And the second one was produced by Jed Shepherd. Don't know why.
Oh, right. That's interesting. Okay. All right.
I've had him on my podcast twice and still haven't asked him why he produced Birdemic.
Yeah, right. You've got to sit him down and ask him about Birdemic.
And be like, what were you thinking? And more recently, 2022, Birdemic 3 Sea Eagle, which I watched as part of, was it Fantastic Fest? And they're all sort of the thing I love about these films is they are like universally very badly made. Like, and you would sit there and you say beer and pizza. This one might be like hard whiskey and a IV drip. Like, you might need to really sort of get into it. But what I love is that he really earnestly wants there to be climate change and climate reform.
Amazing.
Like, at heart, they're very eco-conscious films made by someone who is completely unable to convey that message in any meaningful way.
Well, it's nice when people make stuff and they're trying to do something with it. At least it's not just a cynical, cash grab.
No, exactly. And it is all about being the change you want to see in the world. Do you know what I mean?
Love that.
And practicing what you preach. So
love that. Well, there you go. Birdemic from 2010. That's on Prime if you do want to check that out. What else have we got in Flying Fuckers?
Oh, I'd be remiss if we didn't piss on Alfred Hitchcock's grave. With The Birds 2, Land's End.
Now I have never seen this, probably never will, but have you seen The Birds 2?
More than once.
Oh, okay, amazing.
Yeah. Directed by Rick Rosenthal. They even dug Tippi Hedren back up. She wasn't dead, but she might as well have been. It is everything that the first film did not stand for, and I don't understand why it exists and why it's been made. But I have a soft spot for this film because I watched it when I was a burgeoning horror fan. I didn't know any better.
Yeah,
I didn't have the breadth of knowledge
that
I have now. So I've always had a little soft spot for it, but I can tell you that I know that it is literally spitting right in his face.
That's
in his legacy.
Incredible.
Or whatever.
I love that. Birds 2 Land's End. There you go, 1994. Bloody hell, yeah. All right, what's next?
Oh, it's Bats, isn't it, from 1999. Starring Lou Diamond Phillips and everyone's favourite 90s and 2000s female actress, Dina Meyer.
Dina Meyer, yeah.
I am having a bit of a love affair with Dina Meyer because I'm currently doing a Saw on Patreon of Gore Things. We're doing a Saw watch along, and obviously she features pretty heavily in 3 and 4.
She does. She ends up in the big angel wings trap, doesn't she? At some point, yeah.
We call it the tip maker, not the angel maker, because it rips her from the front.
Yeah, that's the one. That's
not the back. But yeah, Bats is genetically mutated bats, and there's a small town, would you believe, and that he gets attacked. Not a good one. Surprisingly, a better one of similar ilk is...
Oh, God. This is like the of this category, right? Core.
Yeah, there is...
Yeah.
Core.
Yeah.
There is bloodthirsty ravens, of course, that eat human flesh. From 2007, directed by Sheldon Wilson. Sean Patrick Flancy's in this one. And Stephen McHattie's in this as well. I was like, what the fuck are you doing here? But it is not as coreful as you think it would be.
Oh.
Another film from this birdie beak section is a film called Beaks, also known as Birds of Prey, also known as many other titles, directed by a guy called Rene Cardona Jr., who's kind of this sort of like South American action auteur. He made a Killer Birds movie, which was pretty fun. Very underseen, but pretty fun.
I couldn't even find it on Google initially. Like I was like, "What is this?" I thought Brad had made it up. Beaks from 1989, I believe. Right?
Yeah. An odd little movie, but well worth your time if you get the opportunity to see it. I think once again, Vinegar Syndrome did a release of a lot of Cardona's films, and it features on that set. Hard to track down, but well worth your time if you can get your eyes on it. And finally, now this one I'm taking.
Here we go. This is like Brad Bingo now, right?
I was taking a little bit of a liberty here, and I don't know if it belongs here or in a later section, really. But they fly, and that is, of course, is never getting mentioned on the pod at any available opportunity. No. So I'm getting it in now. The Wicker Man 2006.
And I'm assuming this is in this category because of the scene with the bees.
I believe the bees, they bite back.
They
strike back.
They do.
They sting back.
That's it. Yeah, well, absolutely. I suppose the bees actually do play quite a big part in that movie in a way, don't they? Is it all about them making... No, is it about honey or something?
Yeah, it's about honey production.
Yeah.
Killing me won't bring back your goddamn honey.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Well, fair enough.
It's a brief mention. If you ever want to hear me and Mike argue quite a lot...
We do.
If you go back to the annals of 2019 EOH Patreon... One of the first ever episodes on there.
Yeah, we get into it. It's
a whole episode on the Wicker Man 2006.
There you go. So, yeah, another little plug there for Patreon. I love that. So, there we go. That's the Flying Fuckers category. You've got Birdemic from 2010, which is on Prime. Bats from 1999. From 2007 and The Wicker Man from 2006. They're all on Prime. And then you've got The Birds 2, Land's End, and Beaks, which are a little bit harder to find. What a category.
Joe, can I just say, I just want to go on record here and say, I love it when you say the titles. When you said Flying Fuckers then. Like, it's funny when I wrote it and when I say it, but when you say it, it's so much fun.
Yeah, I know. You're making me say all these ridiculous puns and other things. Oh, God. All right, well, there we go. So that's that category out the way. What's next?
It's time for some big bloody boys, isn't it?
Big bloody boys. So this is just big things, right? Big beasts.
Yeah, I didn't know what to do because I had this list and I looked at these sort of films and I thought all of these are big things.
Yeah.
In so much that they're like big creatures. So some of them you could find in the jungle, some of them you're going to find in the wilderness or the woodlands or whatever. So, but they are genuinely just big pricks that do damage and cause problems. So, when looking at which one, there's a lot of options I could have picked here and a lot of great films to be the tent peg, but I wanted to spotlight a film that I fell in love with about 5-6 years ago called Jallikattu from 2019.
അവിടുന്ന് മണ്ടക്കം മുണ്ടക്കം ഇവിടെ എത്തിപ്പെട്ടപ്പോഴോ വേറെ ആനയും ഇളംപന്നി കരടിയെ പേടിച്ചിട്ടാണേലുണ്ടല്ലോ പുറത്തിറങ്ങാൻ വേണം.
This is a good... this is like a proper film, this one. This is great.
And it really... I think it feels like it really fits the brief.
It does.
It was one of those ones... I think it was actually the second film I ever... When you announce the season, Pete behind the curtain, everyone knows this really. As soon as he announces it, I start making my list. I think this was the second film I ever put on this list was this, because it was where my brain immediately went. So this is directed by Lilo Jose Pellicisi, and it's basically an entire film about in which an escaped buffalo... wrecks this Indian town, and it so much so that the town obviously gets destroyed and people end up getting hurt when they're trying to catch it, but the town itself sort of descends into this sort of rhythmic pulsating chaos that I don't think I've ever seen so effectively captured in a film than Jallikattu. I absolutely fucking loved it.
It's so good. I've got a feeling we might have talked about this briefly in our LFF coverage that we used to do back in the day.
We did.
Yeah, this played at LFF, didn't it? And it's real kind of like just that kind of momentum and the madness and the mania that builds throughout this movie. It's so good.
Yeah,
worth a watch.
And it doesn't get talked about a lot. I mean, it's been watched by a fair few people. When you look at the Letterboxd stats, like people ranked, but in terms of, this is very much a human horror. Don't expect like this buffalo to be a nutcase, like evil monster.
Yeah.
It's just a buffalo.
Yeah.
It's just a regular old buffalo doing regular old buffalo things, but it's everything that surrounds it. It reminded me of films like Mother, where like
it's got that kind of vibe. Yeah.
Oppressive, like if this is all getting a bit too much.
Yeah. Love
Great
that.
film.
Great film. Jallikattu from 2019. You can watch that on Prime. All right. What else have we got in Big Bloody Boys?
Big Bloody Boys. I would I'd be remiss. This was rivaling potentially the film that would be the tent peg, Prophecy from 1979, directed by John Frankenheimer. Have you seen this one?
I'm trying to remember. What's this one about? Prophecy. There's been a few films called Prophecy, right? And I'm trying.
That is the problem, because you're like, are you like Christopher Walken's not a bear?
Exactly. Yeah, that's the thing.
So basically, it's like this kind of like weird, monstrous bear hybrid that they kind of capture for testing. And then there's like a mutant grizzly bear, basically. So it could once again ride into science gone mad. But yeah, it stars Armand Asante and Talia Shire. And it's fucking great, this film. Like, so good. And there's a great sleeping bag death before we ever got a Friday the 13th sleeping bag death.
Love that. I don't think I have seen it. Okay, but that's good to know. I'll check that out. That's Prophecy from 1979.
Yeah.
All right, what else we got?
We've got The Ghost and the Darkness with Val Kilmer and Michael Douglas.
Oh, do you know what? This one gets so much love. I've had maybe one of the movies on this whole list that I've received the most messages about is about covering this one, hilariously.
That's crazy.
People love it.
I don't know why they find it more improbable that two lions would have a mystical vendetta against a bridge being built, or the fact that Val Kilmer's teeth are that perfect in 1898.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Fine.
Yeah, fine. But there you go. I mean, maybe it's just one of those movies that a lot of people just have fond memories of watching back in the day.
You grew up with or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah. My issue is that Michael Douglas probably seduces 0 people in that film. And if he's not seducing someone, why do you have Michael Douglas in your
Forget
film?
it. If he's not wearing a V-neck jumper and yeah, exactly, seducing beautiful women in a bar, why is he in this movie?
Get him out of there.
Get him out. All right, what's next?
Larry Fessenden makes another entry with The Last Winter from 2006. This is set in the Arctic, and it's some kind of bizarrely murderous elk/reindeer thing. But like, it's a bit thingy in its construction. It's really good, this film. Criminally underseen. But it's, like once again, like a chamber piece, eco horror. Ron Perlman and James LaGrosse are in it.
Nice.
Kevin Corrigan as well. Good stuff. Underseen.
Right.
Well worth seeing.
All right. Love that. Okay, that's The Last Winter.
This one's a bit of a stretch. Exists by Eduardo Sanchez. It's more Bigfoot than it is a bear. But if we're going to get Bigfoot in there as well, do you know what I mean? Harry and the Hendersons and all that shit. Get that in there.
Why not? Let's get it in there. I mean, I've done Troll Hunter this series, so, cryptids, we can include that kind of stuff.
Exactly. And then after that, Into the Grizzly Maze with John James Marsden from 2015, which is sort of based off of, not based off of, but Grizzly Man, the Werner Herzog movie.
Yeah.
This is kind of like inspired by that, but with James Marsden and Thomas Janes and Billy Bob Thornton in it.
Excellent.
Where a group of scientists are like going to like look at the bears, and then the bears are like, "Fuck off, leave me alone."
Yeah, good.
You know the drill.
We know the drill. Yeah.
Yeah. And finally, Prey from 2016. Directed by Dick Mass, who has potentially the best name that's ever existed.
Dick Mass, yeah, that is great. So this is not to be confused with the various other Preys that have come out over the last few years. Yeah. There are so many.
This is Dutch language, but it's only available in the UK with a terrible English dub. You'll have a great time watching that. This film's actually called Proy, if that helps. Proi. A zoo veterinarian gets caught up in a grisly adventure. She finds herself leading a city-wide hunt for a monstrous lion.
Oh, excellent.
Terrorizing Amsterdam, of course, because where else would you do that?
Find a lion on the loose?
Dick Mass was famous for that film Amsterdammed. You ever see that?
I don't think so. No, good title though.
No,
Enjoyed that.
You haven't seen Lift, about the killer Lift?
Oh, well, funnily enough, a lot of people have been suggesting that for my next season about the killer Lift.
Right.
Yeah.
Save it for later. Save it for later.
Save that one for next
And obviously,
year.
the other one, it's not on the list, but I thought about it earlier, was it Beast with Idris Elba?
Yeah. That's another one. I never saw it. Was it any good?
I would say, you could say, I would tell you I was having a bad time with it, but I'd be lying.
Fuck's sake. Okay.
You fucking walked straight into that.
I walked straight into that, didn't I? Oh my God. All right, well, there we go. Those are the big bloody boys, which we've got in there. Jalakatu from 2019, that's on Prime. We've got Prophecy from 1979, The Ghost and the Darkness, The Last Winter, and Exists. They're all on VOD. Into the Grizzly Maze is on Prime, and Prey, this is the 2016 film called Prey, which is on Paramount Plus. There we go. All right, what's our next category? What's the next pun or awful thing that I've got to say?
Domesticated dickheads.
Domesticated dickheads. Okay, so this is pets, like pets at home, basically.
Yeah,
right?
pets at home that want to kill you.
Lovely. All right.
I would go on record and say that this is the strongest category of all the... maybe not. Actually, I said it and then I've changed my mind. But the tent peg of this would not... It couldn't be any other film, but Uninvited from 1988, directed by Graydon Clark.
They say cats have 9 lives. You have only 1.
A poisonous cat. Now how's that possible?
You're gonna be richer than your wildest dreams.
Mike, have you seen Uninvited?
I don't know. I'm just looking it up now. The name is familiar.
Once again, I saw this at another crap film club in which, a sinister corporation loses control of a house cat infected by a genetically engineered virus. The death toll rises during the mutant feline's rampage, and eventually it finds its way on board a ship of a criminal kingpin.
Oh my God, incredible!
It's the Sopranos meets Killer Cat. This film has been sort of almost memed to death. There are GIFs and clips of there's like a mutant cat that lives inside the other cat's like body and it comes out.
Yeah.
It is the dumbest fucking shit I've ever seen in my life. And it is also one of the best times I've ever had watching a film. I cannot recommend this film highly enough. We talk about beer and pizza. This is the ultimate beer and pizza. This kind of shit is like catnip to me.
I love it. There you go. And actually, looking at it, I mean, I've seen all of these pictures and these GIFs and these clips, but I don't know whether I've actually watched the film or whether I've just seen it through the internet. Do you know what I mean? So maybe I need to give it a watch.
The lens of the ends. Oh, my God. Well, for me, a lot of people say, like, what's your favourite bit of the film? And for me, the best death scene has to be the woman that eats 2 scraps of bread that have been tainted by the poisonous mutant cat, and then her throat explodes.
Oh my God, amazing. All right, I'm putting this on my list. This is good. Okay, so that's...
He says that all the time.
I say
Go back.
It's a very long list.
Go back to the first ever Also Rans. I bet he's still not watched the Nostril Picker.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, Nostril Picker. I'll put it on my list. Yeah,
get it on the list.
Definitely not. Definitely not. All right, well, there you go. So that's Uninvited from 1988. That's on Plex. You can watch that. All right, what else have we got in Domesticated Dickheads?
Another film, not genuinely, I fucking love, is a film called Baxter from 1989, directed by Jerome Bolvin. Wow. So basically, it's a bit of a difficult one to swear, but basically a white bull terrier named Baxter is given to an elderly woman by her daughter. As time passes, the dog develops aggressive and murderous behaviours in order to be adopted by another family. And it turns out this dog might or might not be sort of a fan of genocide and Hitler.
Fucking hell. Didn't know that's where that was going. Okay.
It's a bizarrely dark film, but it's really good. Like, and once again, woefully underseen. But I really recommend it. It's more sort of psychological, but I'm sure you probably talked about White Dog, the Samuel Fuller film.
Yeah, I was going to say, it sounds kind of similar, yeah.
It's a pretty similar film to that, really, but really good. Really enjoyed it.
Wow, all right. So that's Baxter from 1989. What else have we got?
Man's Best Friend from 1993.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've not seen this, but I've heard a lot about this one. Yeah.
Yeah, so Ali Sheedy, Lance Henriksen. This film, 100% my shit. Because they infer that on the poster the dog is like a cyborg, but that's a lie. It's just a regular dog that's been genetically mutated to be faster and stronger. But he's just the goodest boy. I don't think he did anything wrong. I think he's a good boy.
Well, that's the problem with these dog movies as well, isn't
Bless
it?
him.
Because it's hard to hate them, It's like Cujo. I just find Cujo a bit devastating, to be honest.
He just wants a cuddle, I think. If you pat his belly nice enough, I think he'll be all right.
Exactly. So that's Man's Best Friend from 1993. What's next?
The Breed from 2006.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I was struggling to fill up the domesticated dickheads. Now, I'm this one, technically it's a no from me, dog, but it's in there anyway. But it's Michelle Rodriguez, bless her, her and her mates. They go to a cabin, and guess what? Bloody dogs everywhere. They're feral and they kill everyone.
Okay.
It's the most 2006 film I've ever seen.
Oh God. Yeah.
You know exactly what I mean by that.
Yeah. One of those. Not a good film then? Wouldn't recommend that one?
Nah, I wouldn't rush.
No. All right. What's next?
Also, Strays from 1991, directed by John McPherson, in which a young married couple and their daughter are terrorized by a load of cats.
Yes. Okay. Excellent. Good.
And finally, another film that enters into the "This is good" section, and that is White God from 2014, directed by Cornel. Oh, why did I bother trying to say this? Mandrazucho.
Okay, all right.
13-year-old Lily fights to protect her dog Hagen and is devastated when her father sets Hagen free on the street. Still innocently believing love can conquer any difficulty, Lily sets out to save her dog, but he's been sort of indoctrinized into a canine revolt.
Oh, God. Oh, wow. I'm just, yeah.
As always happens.
Yeah.
As always happens, I fucking 5-starred this film back in 2014.
Wow, all right.
This shit is really, really fucking good. And obviously it is all about indoctrination and how people can fall under the spells of charismatic leaders who are not that charismatic.
Yeah.
It's a really great, I think it's Hungarian.
Yeah, Hungarian. Yeah.
Yeah, Hungarian movie. Really good. Not strictly horror, but certainly horror adjacent. I know you love a bit of adjacent horror.
I love it. This looks good. Even Peter Bradshaw gave this film 4 stars.
If it's good enough for Big Pete.
Yeah, he's called it a rabid relation to Hitchcock's The Birds, in which Hungary falls victim to a canine apocalypse. There you go. That sounds good.
See, he said it much better than me. Why do you get him on to do this?
I'll just read the Pete Bradshaw review of each movie as we go. Well, there you go. That's lovely. That's White God from 2014. There you go. So that's the domesticated dickheads category. It's an interesting category. Uninvited from 1988, which is on Plex. You've got Strays and Baxter and Man's Best Friend, which are a little bit harder to find. And then you've got The Breed, which is on Prime Video, and White God, which is on VOD. There you go. All right. Oh, we're getting through them now. Where are we up to next?
I don't know about you, but I've got a case of the squirmy shits.
Squirmy shits. Lovely. So we're talking like slugs and worms and this kind of stuff.
Bugs and associated things. Some people are going to complain again. That isn't a bug. That isn't, whatever.
That's a mollusk, not an arachnid or whatever. Yeah.
Close, I would argue close enough. That'll do.
Yeah.
Once again, a no-brainer for the film that was going to tempo this section. Slugs from 1988, directed by Juan Piquer Simon.
It all began in a peaceful community, a place that had never known evil until now. But 20 years ago, in the stillness beneath these waters, something happened. And now, its deadly spawn has been released, coming up from the depths, out into the light. Slugs. First, they got into the water system. Now they'll get into your system.
Oh my God!
Yes, people are dying mysteriously and gruesomely, and nobody has a clue why. Only health worker Mike Brady has a possible solution, but his theory of killer slugs is laughed at by authorities. Only when the body count begins to rise and the slug expert from England begins snooping around do people begin to take Mike seriously.
Love it. Love it. This is a great film.
Unbelievable stuff. And I know this isn't the first time a podcast has spoken about slugs. I want to obviously point people in the direction of Stevie's brain rot. Stevie got Stephen Fry to talk about this film.
I mean, incredible, right? That's the thing. It's like, as if I could even attempt to have an entertaining an episode on my podcast as that. Just direct everyone over to Stevie and listen to him and Stephen Fry discuss slugs, because that's incredible.
That is an unbelievable one. And as someone who stepped on a slug barefoot numerous times in my life, I think that all these people kind of got what they deserved. You know what I mean?
Exactly. There you go. So that's Slugs from 1988, which you can watch on Shudder. What else have we got in the squirmy shits category?
Who could forget Blood Beach from 1980, which is sort of like bugs that live under the sand. It's basically a Jaws ripoff, as they often were at this sort of time. But yes, sort of weird bugs and slugs that live under the sand, suck people down. Sort of a Tremors prototype from 1980.
Excellent. Love that. All right, so that's Blood Beach.
Of course, Ticks from 1993, starring a baby Seth Green. Which teens camping in the Northern California retreat are terrorized by mutant insects created by evil, polluting pot farmers.
All right, there you go.
Good. This film is genuinely really fucking good.
Is it?
It's a treasure trove. Yeah. Treasure trove of absurdity. It's really gunky. It's got great practical effects. Well worth your time.
All right. Amazing.
And then you've got Then you've got The Nest from 1987, which is sort of killer cockroaches. And they invade an island community, New England fishing village. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Bit Kenyan. You know the vibe.
Yeah.
So that's a fun one. And also They Nest from 2000, which you'll never guess is also about bloody cockroaches.
Oh my God. Okay. All right. That's very confusing. So we've got The Nest and They Nest.
Yes.
Right. Lovely.
And They Nest goes a long way of undoing any goodwill that you had generated by Joe's Apartment. Do you remember that film?
Yes. Okay.
With the talking cockroaches. Oh dear. And finally, this one, I don't know if it is a bug, but Stung from this is kind of where Wicker Man could have been as well. Stung from 2015, which is the giant wasps.
Okay, yep.
They
Stung, not to be confused with Sting. Stung. Okay.
This is past tense. The past tense
yes.
thing. 7 foot beast.
Oh God.
I think it's like Aussie, Kiwi, maybe. It's one of them. But yeah, city creature feature, quite good fun.
Love that. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, all right. So there you go. So we've got some good like, confusing titles in this one. So we've got Slugs from 1988. That's on Shudder. We've got Blood Beach from 1980. We've got The Nest. And there are a few movies called The Nest, but this is The Nest from 1987. That's on Plex. We've got Ticks from 1993. You can rent that on VOD. They Nest from 2000, which is on Prime. And then Stung, not Sting, from 2015, which is on VOD. Lovely. All right, next this might be my favourite category title, actually. What's next, Brad?
Barnyard Bastards.
Barnyard Bastards.
And there's only really, once again, only one film that could really fill this hole, and that is, of course, Black Sheep from 2006, directed by Jonathan King.
What the hell's he doing?
What are you doing in here?
You wouldn't understand.
What's that noise?
Somebody's shearing.
Lovely film. Bit of Kiwi horror. Love it.
Of course. A genetic engineering experiment goes horribly awry. A large flock of docile sheep turn into unrelenting killing machines.
It's good stuff, this movie.
Unbelievable stuff. I remember the first time I saw it, like, it blew my little brain, because it felt so sort of the spirit of sort of like brain dead and bad taste kind of reside within this film, right?
Yeah.
The sensibilities, and it perfectly blends the comedy, and then there's a little bit of horror. Like, this is more funny than it is scary, because how scary can a sheep be?
Well, exactly. I think that's it. But in that classic kind of Kiwi way, Kiwi horror way, like Brain Dead and that kind of thing. It's like, it's funny and it's quite sweet, and then sometimes they throw in some gnarly gore as well, and you're like, oh, okay.
Well, this one's got some unbelievable body horror, some brilliant practical effects. And I mean, it does also raise a good point, right? Because they're saying there's over 40 million sheep in New Zealand. That they outnumber like people that live there, like, isn't it like 20-1 or something crazy like that?
Yeah, exactly. So they wouldn't stand a chance if this happened, basically.
If there was a coordinated attack, if the sheep could really all get together and follow a blind leader, they could be onto something.
That'd be it. So they go. It's good. It's good. It's so good, that film. Hard recommend. That's Black Sheep from 2007, which is on Plex. What else have we got in the Barnyard Bastards?
I mean, come on. Let's talk about pigs.
Pigs! Exclamation mark. Yeah.
Also known as Daddy's Deadly Darling.
Oh, God. Tell us about this one, then.
The owner of a roadside diner and his new helper kill people and feed them to the fattened pigs.
Incredible. I don't think this is the movie that I thought it was. When I looked it up, it came up with some sort of educational film about pigs from 1967.
No, that ain't it. So I'll run with this one. So basically, it's a psycho killer. It's get very Eaten Alive vibes, but pre this. This film's actually from 1973. But great stuff, like quite camp, quite silly, brisk, which is also, it's like 80 minutes, so we love that. It's like a Motel Hell kind of like tone, that kind of thing.
Nutter living out in the middle of nowhere with some killer pigs, basically.
They go through bone like butter.
I'm reading the Wikipedia page now. This is fun. It's been released under a large number of other titles ever since, including Daddy's Girl, The 13th Pig, Blood Pen, Horror Farm, Roadside Torture Chamber, The Killer, The Killers, Lynn Hart, The Exorcist, The Strange Love Exorcist, The Strange Love Exorcist Lynn Hart, The Strange Exorcism of Lynn Hart, and The Secret of Lynn Hart.
What the fuck is Lynn Hart? Lynn Hart's been up to a few bits and bobs, isn't she?
I don't know. But I like the fact that also it's just known as Pigs! Exclamation mark.
One of them was just The Exorcist. You can't call it that.
And it was 1973 as well. It's like, what? That's a nightmare.
That's some Italian filmmaker sensibilities there.
It is. That's incredible.
I'm getting a bit coattail riding.
That's incredible. There you go. Pigs. All right, what else have we got on this list?
Isolation from 2005 by Billy O'Brien, in which a remote Irish farm, 5 people become unwilling participants in an experiment that goes nightmarishly wrong. Mutant cows, mate.
Oh, lovely. We haven't had a mutant cow film. This is good.
Well, this was another one of the ones where I was like, fuck me, I've now got to find barnyard animals.
Yes, you've been scraping the barrel here for movies, yeah.
But Isolation's quite a good one, to be fair. But it's more human horror, but set around a cow farm. But so that counts, if you ask me.
Excellent.
And then you've got Chore from 2009, directed by Shin Jung-won, which is a black comedy about the events that basically a rampaging man-eating boar goes and attacks the town.
Excellent. Good.
Funny little Korean horror comedy. You've got Kill Her Goats.
Mm-hmm.
So that's Kill Her Goats from 2023, directed by Stephen Walsh. I think you can guess what this is. It's about killer fucking goats.
Love this. Why didn't they call it Killer Goats and they've called it Kill Her Goats instead?
Because that sounds like something where it's a pun that I think I would have thought was clever, and it's clever on paper, but then when you say it out loud, it isn't that funny.
No, exactly that. All right, there you go.
And then a film called Pig Hunt from 2008 is the final recommendation.
Pig, and that I'm guessing is Killer Pigs.
Killer Pigs again. There was a lot of pig. This was very pig heavy. I had the Barnyard Bastards title, but then I kind of penned myself in.
That's good. Oh, good. Penned yourself in. Very good. Love that. Well, there you go. So that's Black Sheep from 2007, which you can watch on Plex. Chore from 2009, which is a VOD. Kill Her Goats from 2023, which is available VOD. And then you got a few other movies that are harder to find. Pigs! Exclamation mark, as well as 100 other titles from 1973. Isolation from 2005 and Pig Hunt from 2008. And we will post Brad or I will post a Letterboxd list, won't we, eventually, with all of these titles?
I've got it all ready. Don't worry.
All right. What's our next category?
It's those bloody rodent rascals, isn't it?
Rodent rascals. Love this. So, all right. So we've got rats and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
It's predominantly rats, this one. Yeah. So
it's a lot of rats.
Once again, a film this one picked itself. Willard from 1971, directed by Daniel Mann.
This is Willard, and these are his friends, Ben and Socrates.
I'm gonna have a big surprise tomorrow.
Willard takes good care of them.
What's that in your pocket? There's something in your pocket.
And they will do anything for Willard.
A social misfit, Willard is made fun of by his co-workers and squeezed out of his company side by his deceased farmer, by his boss. His only friends are a couple of rats he raises at home, Ben and Socrates. However, when one of them is killed at work, he goes on a rampage using his rats to attack those who have been tormenting him.
Yeah, Willard. This is a biggie, right? A big movie. A rat classic.
A stone cold rat classic. Rats the way, I like it.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to make levity because this is quite a depressing and sad movie about a little boy that's like, well, a young man that's kind of bullied and tortured into befriending a couple of fucking weird rats that then start doing his bidding. It takes it, it's quite a serious film in terms of, about bullying and isolation. It was remade as well in 2003 with creepy Crispin Glover.
That's right. I remember that. Yeah. I mean, perfect role for him. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. A role made for him. This film also spawned a sequel, which is another one that's featuring in this section, Ben from 1972, which follows Ben from Willard.
Yes.
His exploits afterwards.
That's right.
He goes and befriends another little lonely boy. In a way, this rat is a bit of a predator.
Yeah, actually.
Preying on the vulnerable.
That's right.
And he leads a pack of rats, and you'll never guess what. They start killing people again.
God, these bloody rats.
Bloody rats. Speaking of bloody rats, this one fucking rules. Of Unknown Origin by George P. Cosmatos. A man who has recently been completely obsessed with rebuilding his townhouse becomes obsessed with a rat infestation until it becomes an interspecies duel.
Oh my God, amazing.
Peter Weller of RoboCop fame has had enough. And things get catastrophic as he takes on a selection of rats, and it goes a bit Mouse Hunt. It goes a bit Home Alone.
Oh, it sounds great.
It's really good. Like, genuinely a really fun film of unknown origin. This whole section's actually pretty fun, I'll be honest with you.
This is a pretty strong category, yeah. All right, so that's of unknown origin. What's next?
Our good friend Bruno Mattei's back. Don't worry, he's not ripping off Willard. He, of course, made Rats, Nights of Terror. 100 years after a nuclear war has devastated the planet and society has been reborn into two factions. There's an underground society and there's wasteland scavengers. The two pit against each other, but at the same time, there are loads of flesh-eating rats everywhere and bloody people get chewed up everywhere.
Oh, lovely. Excellent. That sounds good. Rats Night of Terror from 1984. And what's next?
The final rat entry is, of course, a King adaptation. It's got to be Graveyard Shift by Ralph S. Singleton from 1990. A fun one, surprisingly.
Yeah.
And this was a film I saw a little while ago prior to you announcing the series, but it's always kind of stuck with me as a film where if you put Charlie Kelly from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia in this role, he would thrive in this situation.
Okay.
Because he's like working the graveyard shift of this textile mill, but there's loads of evil rats in the sewers and they're all causing him to go crazy and be weird.
Excellent.
It's good stuff. It's got a bit of a cheeky Brad Dourif and Andrew Divoff in it.
Oh, yeah.
So a couple of the genre heavyweights in there.
Love that. There you go. That's a fun category then. So Rodent Rascals. We've got Willard from 1971 and Ben from 1972. Of Unknown Origin from 1983. That's on VOD. You've got Rats Night of Terror, which is on Shudder. And then Graveyard Shift Gift from 1990, which you'll have to seek in other ways. There you go. All right, we're on to our final category, Bradley.
Ooh, time flies. Time flies. Woo. So this one, I'll be honest with you, I phoned in the title, mate.
It's all right. You've done very well. You've had a lot of categories to contend with.
I just didn't know what to do with this, really.
Yeah.
So this is just called Miscellaneous Monsters.
Lovely. Yeah. Just and also rans of the also rans, basically.
Just other bits and bobs.
Yeah.
This one, the tent pole of this one, I wasn't sure if it counted, but I'm going to say that it does, although it's probably one of the only films that isn't really about creatures so far. And that, of course, would be The Stuff from 1985, directed by Larry Cohen.
Tonight, America is in grave danger. We are under alien attack by a popular dessert known as The Stuff.
Here, Jason, take some.
No! Don't eat that. There is something alive in there.
Tasty!
There's something alive in yogurt. It's called benign bacteria.
If the stuff is in your house, do not eat it. If you have it on your shelves, do not sell it. If you distribute this material, close your doors, make no more sales.
Lovely. It's a great film. And yeah, technically, I had this conversation, funnily enough, with Becky Dark recently about whether it was I was going to include it in my science series. And she was like, well, no, because the stuff is like a natural thing.
It comes out of the
ground, isn't it? Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, basically it's this dairies company hire this bloke, and he's investigating a new product called The Stuff, which was found sort of like, it's like ice cream, but it's like bubbling up from the ground. And I remember the first scene, I was like, what the fuck am I watching? Because the guy just walks along and all the stuff is bubbling out the ground, and he just puts his hand down, picks it out with his fingers and sticks it immediately into his mouth.
I remember that too. It's like, why would you do that?
But what I like is that what's great is that the Stuff's sort of cinematic legacy lives on, because I don't know if you remember, in The Last Jedi, there is a scene in which pays homage to this, but during one of the scenes, I remember very distinctly, a guy takes the sand, puts it in his hand, licks it and goes, salt.
Oh, yeah.
It tastes the ground.
Yeah.
I think that's a Stuff homage.
I think so. It's it's Ryan Johnson.
It's canon now.
Ryan Johnson knows what he's doing. Yeah, love that.
He knows what he's doing.
Love that.
But you can't get enough of this wonderful stuff, and this film is absolute brilliant body horror, melty classic.
It's incredible.
And it put me off. I still don't really ever trust fluff.
No.
Like marshmallow fluff.
No.
I don't trust it. I don't want it in the cupboard.
There you go. So that's The Stuff from 1985, which you can watch on Shudder. That's a banger. What else have we got in the miscellaneous category?
Well, I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about Attack of the Killer Tomatoes.
Of course.
Or Tomatoes.
Yeah, a classic.
Directed by John DeBello. It's a musical comedy horror show. After Waver reports of mysterious attacks involving people with pets being eaten by traditionally docile fruit, a special governmental task force is set out to investigate. It's basically killer tomatoes that kill people. It then spawned a sequel. George Clooney is in the sequel, Return of the Killer Tomatoes.
He is, yes.
And then they also made an animated series of it. Because I remember that Attack of the Killer Tomatoes theme song.
Yep.
And where else could I put this? Do you know what I mean? Like, where's...
No, exactly. We can't have a whole fruit and veg category. It'd be ridiculous.
There's not enough killer vegetable movies.
No.
I don't think.
No, that's good. Well, Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, that's on VOD. What else we got?
We've got Humanoids from the Deep.
Oh, yeah.
Directed by Barbara Peters and Jimmy T. Murakami. This is a fucking weird movie. The first 15 minutes they kill off like a child and 3 dogs, and then there's like a giant like rape creature like narrative.
Yeah, it's quite sleazy, right? From what I remember,
proper rapey film. Yeah. It's got Vic Morrow in it, bless him. And then the last 15 minutes are just like pure gore porn, like splatter cinema. But once again, they're not deep sea dickheads or douchebags, so I didn't really know where to. And they're kind of humanoids, but they're sort of fish creature people.
Yeah,
and they're not aliens.
No,
so I don't really know what they're doing and why they're so intent on raping everything that moves. But
no, I don't know what they're up to. There you go. That's Humanoids from the Deep. That's from 1980. All right, what else we got?
I mean, it's got to be a bit of chud, isn't it? Cannibalistic humanoid underground dwellers.
It's lovely. It's got to be, hasn't it? Lovely.
Directed by Douglas Sheep. It also spawned a sequel, Bud the Chud 2. This is another film that sort of it perfectly typified that 80s New York sleaze like New York Ripper and those sort of films. Chud is another one of those films where you can almost taste the piss. Do you know what I mean? The piss-stained streets of New York City. They're like deformed vagrants. Is it nature biting back? Maybe. Is it science gone wrong? Probably. Who knows? But they're in this category and there's nothing you could do about it because it's my list.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think it's a good shout. It's a good shout. That's Chud from 1984. And one more pick, Brad.
Yeah, I don't know. Once again, I Googled it's a mammal, so I could have maybe done a mammal thing, but he's not very big, so he couldn't go into Big Bloody Boys, so I didn't know where to put him.
No.
So let's finish with a new contemporary movie that was actually surprisingly more interesting and fun than I thought it would be. And that is Slaughterhouse from 2023.
Yeah, this is one of those like... It's a pun title before it's a movie type thing situation like Zombievers, right? Where, it didn't seem like it was going to be as good as it perhaps was by the sounds of it.
It was better than I thought it would be. I thought it was going to be like a half-star piece of shit.
Yeah.
But I was somewhat drawn to it, like a sloth to flame, some would say.
Love that. Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah, so that's a pretty fun category overall, actually. Miscellaneous monsters. We got The Stuff from 1985, which is on Shudder. Attack of the Killer Tomatoes from 1978 on VOD. Humanoids from the Deep from 1980. We've got Chud from 1984, which is on Prime. And Slaughterhouse, which is on VOD from 2023. Amazing. There you go. You've done it, Brad. Excellent job.
Thanks, mate.
Incredible. What is your favourite of all of those ones you've recommended across all categories? What would be your pick of the bunch if you were to recommend people check out one of those movies?
I would probably say Jalakatu.
Yeah, I would say that's a good shout. Jalakatu. And, if you've not seen Snakes on a Plane, give it a watch as well, And
uninvited, obviously.
And uninvited. There you go. Incredible. Well, Brad, thank you. This was fantastic. And we'll publish the list so people can go through it and tell us what they think of all these movies. And obviously they'll tell us what we missed out, of course.
I look forward to it. The thing is, don't tweet me anymore because I'm not on there.
Exactly. Don't tweet him. We'll drop it in the discussion group. I'm sure there'll be plenty of feedback in there.
Oh, yeah.
But until then, Bradley, let people know where they can find you, where they can find all of your other work and podcasts and all of that jazz.
Endeavours. So yes, you can find me on all social media at Had Branson, and you can find Gore Things wherever you get your podcasts.
Amazing. Bradley, thank you very much.
Cheers, mate.
Bye.
Bye.
And that's it for this week. Thank you so much for listening. And one more time, a huge thank you to the brilliant Brad Hanson. So I would love to hear your thoughts. Of course, there's probably bound to be titles that we missed. So please do get in touch. Let us know what other Nature Bites Back recommendations you would throw into that list. You can email me, evolutionofhorror@gmail.com. You can also find us on all the socials, of course, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. And if you want to discuss this week's episode with fellow listeners, you can join the discussion group. That's the Evolution of Horror discussion group, and that can be found on Facebook. You can find this podcast in all the usual podcast places, and if you get a spare minute, I'd be so grateful if you could drop us a little rating and review on your podcast app of choice, as that always really helps us get discovered by new listeners. So, on to next week then, and well, we always like to finish with a double bill of kind of bangers from recent years. So, next week we're going to finish our Nature Bites Back season with 2 final deep dive discussions. I'm going to be joined by Adam Robinson, and we're going to be talking about Alexander Aja's alligator movie, Cruel, and last year's terrifying spider movie, Infested. Join us next week for all of this and more on the Evolution of Horror.